Hey there. Today I saw Last Breath, and now I want to tell you about it. Last Breath is a dramatic thriller about a team of divers trying to rescue a diver trapped at the bottom of the North Sea. It's based on a real story, and even features some real footage from the event. The screenplay was a team effort by Mitchell LaFortune, Alex Parkinson, and David Brooks. Alex Parkinson directed the film, which stars Woody Harrelson, Simu Liu, and Finn Cole. Alright, so the story goes something like this. These guys work for a company that drills under the sea, and they're sent to repair one of the structures on the floor. While two men are diving, a freak storm knocks their ship out of position and one of the divers has his oxygen line snapped. The other diver and the crew of the ship have to then find a way to get to him and rescue him before his reserve oxygen runs out. It's a dramatic tale of survival and humans working together against nature. For positives, it has a solid story that is both entertaining and well constructed. The cast does a decent job with a few standout performances. The visual journey is clear and easy to follow, and the soundtrack adds a ton of emotion into the film. Starting with the story, it's a tight tale that follows a simple pathway. We see the situation set up, then things play out in a linear manner. There's a lot of tension as they try and rescue the diver, and a lot of emotional buildup as the crew stretch themselves thin in their efforts. The writers did a good job of condensing the story and keeping a lot of the powerful moments from the documentary in it. They did an especially good job of weaving memorable lines from the interviews into the dialogue. The characters are easy to root for, the situation is easy to sympathize with, and they did a good job of building up to the climax. Cast-wise, you have a lot of tense characters barking orders at each other and trying to figure out a tough situation. There's a little bit of emotion toward the climax, but it's mostly a bunch of people trying to hold it together. The big performances of the film are from Woody Harrelson, who plays Duncan Alec, and Finn Cole as Chris Lemons. Simu Liu also plays a big role in the film, but we'll talk about him later. Woody Harrelson as Duncan is the underwater coordinator of the two divers. He sits inside the bubble with them and runs their oxygen and warm water lines. Harrelson comes off as the old master, going on one last ride. He takes care of the other two while still busting their balls a little bit. When Chris gets into trouble, he becomes quite emotional, and Harrelson plays the emotional journey in a beautiful way. He has several big outbursts that are quite moving. Finn Cole plays the lucky lemon at the center of the ordeal. He does a good job of setting up his character so that there is a lot of emotional weight to the story and does a fantastic job with his dialogue. Like Harrelson, he gets a couple of big emotional moments and nails them. Visually, the film has two modes. The first mode is under the water, in which we get a lot of found footage style shots. Some of it is real footage from the event, and comes across slightly grainy and out of focus. The rest of it is well done so that you can see the action underwater while still getting some of the exotic vibe from the setting. The second mode involves shots of the characters looking at screens and typing away at computers. These scenes are tense shots of the cast emoting. There's lots of big dialogue exchanges with a plethora of emotions flying around the room. These shots tend to be clean and capture the action well. Sound-wise, the film adds a lot of emotion through the orchestral instrumentals that they use. They flood the background with complex, intense music that adds joy, sadness, and sometimes a bit of horror. The tracks are a little loud at times and aren't the most memorable, but they do a good job of filling out the space and backing the story. Which brings me to the negatives section of my review. For me, there's only 3 real problems with this film. 1. The visual journey should have attempted to do some grander visuals. There were events in the real story that could have been quite cinematic, but they were either left out of the film or changed to be much less drastic. Like at one point in the real story, Chris Lemons is being whipped around through the water at insane speeds. That could have made for a great scene, but they just left it out. There's also several scenes of them ascending and descending the lines which could have been big, beautiful, wide shots, but instead were done close and dirty. 2. Simu Liu does a terrible job of this role in comparison to the real guy. The real Dave Yuasa was so much more interesting than Liu playing him that I had a hard time sitting through his scenes. In the film, Liu's dialogue delivery is wooden. Next to Woody Harrelson, he almost looks like a robot. I know someone will try and defend this by saying the character is supposed to be an uncaring dude, but I saw the documentary and the guy gets quite emotional talking about the rescue. They basically made his character into a Hollywood superhero and then removed all of his emotions. Liu comes off like a dead fish. 3. The film is basically a rehash of the documentary, but worse. The documentary does an amazing job of telling the tale in a specific way so that you feel like one of the divers. You feel their ups and downs to an insane degree while watching it. The film does a good enough job recreating that journey, but they hamstrung themselves by adding a bunch of Hollywood tropes that kind of give away the ending. Personally, I enjoyed the film, but I think I spoiled it by watching the documentary first. The documentary is so well done that I have a hard time believing any fictional account could really compare. The story is a good one. The writers did a good job of retelling it without too many additions and in a reasonable time frame. Most of the cast does a wonderful job with their roles. There's lots of big emotions. Visually and sound-wise, the film isn't all that special, but it does what it needs to get the job done. If you don't like documentaries, give this a try. Otherwise, watch the documentary first. It's just better. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 6 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.